Hello, this is Monday night, and welcome to Graphic Policy Radio. This is the podcast where politics and comics meet. This is the show for folks who want their San Diego Comic-Con coverage to come with an acknowledgement of the fact that San Diego is also a city in which people live, and that might have something significant to say about the conference's interactions with the city as well. I'm Ilana Levin, a.k.a. Ilana Brooklyn, your host on the podcast. And, so this is going to be our big San Diego Comic-Con 2018 episode. San Diego Comic-Con is an economy itself, and this is the U.S.'s biggest pop culture convention. It has massive implications, not just in nerd-friendly TV, movies, a thing you may remember that are called comics that people still read, and also in politics. So we're going to do the Graphic Policy Radio style scoop on the conversation, and joining me as this week's guest is my favorite resident San Diegan, Arturo Garcia. Arturo has worked as a journalist across the media spectrum, newspapers, television news, and now as a reporter and fact-checker for Snopes.com. For the past 2 years, he's also been one of 2 correspondents for Rolling Stone's coverage of San Diego Comic-Con. His work has appeared on The Raw Story, Racialicious, The Guardian, and Alternet. He has followed a multitude of superhero media fandoms, and there is a Rocky Horror Picture Show convention named after him. This is true. Arturo, welcome back to the show.
Thank you very much for having us.
Yeah, it's so perfect that I know someone who's a political activist, lives in San Diego, and is a lifelong geek and a journalist. Like the Venn diagram of who exactly we should have on the show to talk about this. It's like you were right in the center of it. So that worked out very well.
I want to... In piggybacking off that, I reminded of something that Jen Steller, Ink Stain Amazon, said during a panel on Sunday that I covered. Geeks are inherently well-suited for political campaigning. They can plan a campaign that lasts either 2.5 months or 20 minutes. You know, we're detail-oriented by nature.
That's true.
And pick a fandom, and you'll find a cause to rally around.
That's one of the. I'm really glad that they had that panel at SDCC. I've been trying to get something like that at NYCC, and have not gotten anywhere on it. But we were able to host something like that at AwesomeCon this year. Like what were that was what was the name of that panel again?
That one was civility versus anger, which dealt with
that's not the one I was
navigating
thinking of.
online. But there were a number of panels that actually took on, let's call them more forceful topics as opposed to watch X preview. Here's, you could call them the sales pieces, the sales pushes that have become associated with conventions.
Yeah, I just knew that there was a fan activism panel that I think Ink Stained Amazon was on, as well as some folks from the Harry Potter Alliance. So I wanted to be there, but I could not. What was I going to say? So I guess my first question for you is what was there a moment in San Diego Comic-Con that just really codified this as a political event as well as a geek event?
I wouldn't say there was a flashpoint. What I would say is that in the absence of stuff like the Marvel Cinematic properties or Game of Thrones, there were more opportunities for, let's call them emerging representative voices to be heard. The Black Heroes Matter was able to come back and sustain momentum for that flash mob and movement. The Nerds of Color, shout out to Keith Chow. They organized a rally for Rose Tico during the convention. I don't think that gets. I think there's a ceiling on the traffic there if the convention is dominated by, let's call it a bigger assortment of mega properties. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I saw Mark Hamill retweet stuff with the Rally for Rose. So let's talk about that a bit for our listeners. So basically, the actress who plays Rose Tico was bullied off the internet by racist, sexist scumbags. Why am I forgetting the actress's name? I feel so bad.
Kelly Marie Tran.
Yes. So cosplayers it looks like they did like a meetup rally outside the convention to show solidarity with her. Is that what happened?
Yes.
And that was the Nerds
And
of Color who organized it? Or?
Yes. And they attracted Rose cosplayers. Keith was there with shirts depicting Rose in the style of the old Obama poster with hope on the bottom and with Rose on the bottom. Rian Johnson retweeted it. Rian Johnson retweeted a post about it and sent his love.
Oh, that's wonderful.
You know, and I think we're in a moment where we're seeing more stuff like that now. As our channels get amplified, and as sites like the NOC or Women in Comics New York, to name another, you know, as people like David Walker and the Black Heroes Matter, let's call it movement, continue to gain steam. There are more opportunities for this for these voices to be heard, and there were also panels this year dealing with, you know, the fake geek girl fallacy. There was the panel on activism building. You know, I wouldn't call it a relatively new development. I mean, there was a panel on geek girls as far back as 2011. But this year in particular, there was room for the signal to get louder, I felt. And you mentioned and the clothing day. Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
One more I want to mention. After the convention, Chase Masterson of DS9 fame, she's also an anti-bullying activist. She got together with groups like the ACLU and Lambda Legal and Indivisible, and they held a rally independent from the convention. But you still had cosplayers there. You still had there was a person there in Princess Leia cosplay with a sign saying "Resist."
I love it. Yes, I was literally about to ask you about that. So I just realized through Chase Masterson. I mean, I'm like a big DS9 fan, but I'm terrible. I was like, oh, Chase Masterson. So she played Lita, who was the Bajoran, a character who had been a Dabo girl, and then has a relationship with Quark's brother Nog. Thank you. And yes, so yeah, she was super charismatic and fun on the show, and that's so cool that she was doing that with the ACLU. What a neat partnership. Did that have a pretty good turnout? What did it look like?
It was after the convention, which I feel like it could have been bigger, but perhaps logistics and other factors came into play. But it was like 5 o'clock on the Sunday after. Yeah, and people are starting to look for their trains, get their stuff back at their hotel. Who knows? But I think it was there. It was viable. It did get some local news coverage.
Cool.
And I'm glad I found it.
That's so great. Yeah, and I love seeing people like cosplay at rallies when it sort of was on theme, and that Princess Leia stuff is definitely on theme. So there was definitely some other big pieces of announcements that came out. There was the Eisner Awards. I actually did a post a couple days ago. Graphic Policy Radio, we were lucky. We've had a number of the people who are now brand newly minted Eisner Award winners have been on the show. So I posted up our old interviews with Saladin Ahmed, who won for Best Writer of a Best New Series, Marjorie Liu, who won 3 awards, including being the first woman to ever win the Best Writer Award, which is ridiculous that no woman had won it till right now, for her work on Monstrous. We interviewed her when that series launched. And Tanika Slots just won for the anthology Elements, which we actually had her on to talk about just a few weeks ago. So that's a fresh off the presses interview with one of the winners. And then Karen Berger was entered into the Hall of Fame, the legendary Vertigo publisher. And we had her on the show a while back as well. So folks can check that out. But yeah, did you have any thoughts about the Eisners this year?
I wasn't able to attend them, so I can't give you a very in-depth analysis. But I did think it was striking to see this wave of non-white cis male voices break through. My hope is that we look at that as a watershed in years to come. I think the big two should be taking notes.
I'm pretty sure.
If I were them, I'd either be hopping on a Black Bolt initiative or keep getting, Ahmed some more gigs.
Yeah, he's writing Exiles right now in Quicksilver, and you know what kills me is, so Roxane Gay, who wrote World of Wakanda, that comic was canceled, and she won an Eisner for it. And, like, everybody knows it was canceled. It's not like they even tried to hide it. So her winning an Eisner for it is just the most, like, in-your-face repudiation of the tendency Marvel has to cancel comics before they've even hit the trade paperback market, nature of things. Good God.
Well, I think that encapsulates a lot of issues with the industry itself, as you said.
Yeah.
Publisher will give up on a talent and a title very prematurely, but it turns out that later that title gets recognized for its worth, and suddenly Marvel looks like they dropped the bag on themselves for no good reason.
Yep.
It was a completely unforced error.
Yep.
And
yep.
it strains their credibility when they make these hires.
Yes. Yeah, a number of us have pointed out
sorry, but just one last point on that. But I think if they're going to take a lesson from the Eisners, they should take a look at these winners, and the people already in the pipeline should be getting higher profile stuff. The people not in the pipeline should be brought in for something more out of the box, like these all digital initiatives we saw for Luke Cage and Daughters of the Dragon. But
yeah.
The industry as a whole has to stop betting on white cis males if it wants to survive.
Yes, and I was just basically going to say what you did, so thank you. And speaking of direct to digital, I know that Kelly Thompson, who's a fabulous writer, she just released basically the Stephen Bomb of comics, I guess, in a way, two giant jumbo Jessica Jones issues were released during Comic-Con that I know have been getting a ton of praise. I'm not surprised to see. I did not read them because I was not buying things off Amazon during the days that they came out because of the worker strike, but I'm definitely going to check them out when they get to my local comic book store. But Logan Dalton, friend of the show, awesome dude, he had written basically about how much the Jessica Jones character has suffered over time by only coming from the voice of, Bendis, who's not a woman at all, as much as he might claim that he speaks for his daughter. And so having that voice, that legacy get passed over to Kelly Thompson, which is such a perfect person to have take over the character, is sort of like a sign of people are seeing that there's time to start bringing those voices that can do it. So that, I guess that counts as SDCC news because of when they launched it.
Right.
So one big thing I saw announced was the DC Unlimited. I'm a huge fan of streaming platform. Now, I'm a huge fan of Young Justice, and when I heard Young Justice was coming back and it was only going to be released on the streaming platform, I was just ridiculously angry because I was like, there's no way I'm going to be able to see this, and why would I sign up for one more streaming platform? But when they announced the streaming platform that it would include not just shows that were made for it, but also comics subscription. They describe it as a curated selection of comics, which I take to mean, no, you don't have our full archives, but we're going to do a better job of organizing the issues we make available than Marvel did. Suddenly that starts to get a little bit more appealing.
Yeah,
it's also going to have... Yeah?
No, go on. You finish your thought.
Yeah. It's also going to have all the old movies, including ones that are hard to find. It's going to have Batman the Animated Series and other classic animation on it. Like basically anything that DC has ever made for television in the history of mankind basically seems like it's going to be on it, plus a number of comics. I don't quite know that I can justify a subscription, but starting to sound like a reasonable deal I could see people doing after all. What do you think?
My thoughts. one, if they're curating the comics, I can't wait to read Dan Didio's Outsiders run. Um, um, two, I think in theory, the idea of being able to watch every Justice League cartoon, every Superman animated series cartoon, to say nothing of Batman the animated series, and you have to figure that once the Netflix deals are up for the current CW content, those will be migrated over as well.
Yeah.
However, they could not have picked a worse shot across than that Titans trailer. And I'm sorry, I'm not trying to jump on a bandwagon. That was just a badly done trailer. That was Zack Snyder's Creek.
Oof. Did they fix Starfire's wig, or is she still wearing the Party City wig?
I couldn't even tell. She's barely in it. The bulk of the trailer has to do with Raven, who we can suppose is starting to deal with the cost of Trigon's legacy, and then of a very 90s gritty take on Dick Grayson's Robin, which to me it didn't score. It didn't not only not match the
I thought it was supposed
Titans
to be Jason. I thought Jason was supposed to be the Robin in this, and that Dick was going to be like after he left Batman to become a cop thing.
That would be a slightly more palatable thing, but I'm not a Jason Todd person, so that's not a selling point for me,
Yeah, I guess I'm just saying that I actually thought that it was at least a good idea. I thought, to me, it seems interesting to have it be not Dick for once. I don't think I've ever read Jason Todd in anything that wasn't that legendary Alan Moore comic for the man who has everything. Like literally, like I've not read anything that he's been in, but I think it's interesting as opposed to not recycling yourself, to have it be Jason Todd and to have Dick Grayson be older. I was like, that's an interesting spin. But generally speaking, the production values just that I've seen so far are not. And you can do things on the cheap and have it be cool, but if that's what you're doing, like lean into the low budget, like make it be a trauma movie. If you're not going to spend the money, go all in the campy and like. Yeah, and it
doesn't look fun. It looks like. It looks like an ad that somebody put together watching other comic book show ads. You've got the faux soulful cover song.
Gosh,
everybody's tormented.
That's the worst. What song did they use?
I don't even remember. These things blur together by now.
Yeah,
but,
that's a bad sign for them. Sure.
The vaguely Lord-esque singer. Here's the thing. I thought as an outsider story, the look makes sense. As a Teen Titans story, I don't think that's going to register well. And it's not even a matter of recycling yourself. It's a matter that there's a story of a group of young heroes who want to continue doing well. It's an optimistic story at its core, and they provide that youthful idealism that contrasts with the JLA, certainly with Batman, but certainly the Outsiders. To me, Titans are a closer descendant of the Justice Society of America because they have that idealistic vision, and whereas the JLA are the pros.
Yeah.
And I think that's fertile ground. And I think in a live action treatment, is much more novel than perhaps maybe they thought that going bright would make it too much like Teen Titans Go.
Yeah, I mean, I think in a way, like the new Young Justice series is something that's in between, right? It's like emotional and thoughtful, but it's not grimdark. It's, you know what I mean? It does have some humor and some levity.
Oh, correct.
At least it has in the past, but it's not too light. It's not too dark. It's very emo, but it's not grimdark, So if Titans season 3 is like that,
and the
then
heroes
that kind of no.
Right, and the heroes are heroes.
Yeah.
You know, and you know, I watched some of the old episodes recently, and it still holds up.
Young Justice is so good.
I'm optimistic for that. I don't think Titans was a good follow-up.
Mm-hmm.
You know, maybe they have something with Harley Quinn. And I believe was Swamp Thing the other property.
Ooh, I don't know. Like an animated movie. Yeah. They're doing some more animated movies. They're getting another Wonder Woman one, which is ridiculous that there's only been one Wonder Woman. Good God. Like, you had a huge blockbuster movie. They should have had a Wonder Woman movie for kids and a Wonder Woman movie for... There should have been a Wonder Woman animated movie for kids and a Wonder Woman animated movies for, like, not kids that would have been cooked up over the past year. Like, good Lord.
And I just saw Stargirl is gonna be a property there.
Oh, cool. That's an interesting character to do. Yet another young white woman, although they certainly don't have to cast her that way. Have they released who they're casting?
No, they only announced the show.
Cool. So then there's a good chance that it won't be yet another young white woman, because there's no reason that Stargirl would need to be. That's interesting. But what I'm excited about is that they're going to introduce Batwoman. Kate Kane is going to be introduced on I guess Legends of Tomorrow, and then might be getting her own show after that. Or what is it?
She'll be part of the crossover. In fact, she might be the focal point of the crossover, which leads me to believe we're talking Religion of Crime. But she will be getting a CW show that is being developed. So, start your shipping engine.
Yeah, for real, dude. I'm a huge fan of the character. I don't really watch any of the CW shows, not even the ones that people have sworn that I would like, which I probably would like. I just haven't had the bandwidth. But for Batwoman, I'm going to make myself do it. And what's also interesting to me is that they announced specifically that they're going to cast a queer woman to play Batwoman. Now, this is interesting because, like, I'm really excited about that because we need to have some more jobs for queer women who are actresses, but you don't need to cast a queer woman as a queer role. I think that having cast gay men as gay men in the Star Trek Discovery show paid off in droves, because I felt like we were able to get a realer and more authentic gay performance without worrying about stereotypes, in a way that I feel like a lot of straight actors feel like they have to go so hard against type that they actually don't seem like any actual queer people who I know or relate to. Whereas having queer actors in those roles on Star Trek Discovery was like, no, these are like definitely two queer dudes, and they're very real, and it's also not stereotypical. So it worked out great. But I don't think that myself and certainly not like Gays and Lesbians Against Defamation or any of the other LGBTQ groups, like, they're not saying, oh, you must cast lesbian characters with lesbian actresses. We are saying that you need to cast trans actors as trans characters, and that we're also encouraging, folks to cast trans actors and actresses as non-trans characters as well. But it's not the same thing, and I just don't want people to get that conflated in their coverage. So yeah, like I think it's super cool that they want to cast a lesbian in that role, because we get job discrimination, and having more jobs is fabulous. But it's not the same as like, yeah.
Let me ask you, as a cishet bro here, does the casting of Nicole Maines, a trans actress in Supergirl, does that ease your concern a bit going into Batwoman?
No, I mean, I don't know why it would. Like, she's a real actress, right? So I'm sure she'll do a good job.
The theory is, if they've already taken care to cast a trans actress in. And we don't know, Dreamer may or may not, or can be trans. But it shows at least some attentiveness to her.
I think we know she's playing. I think she's playing like a League of Superhero, a Legion of Superheroes character or something.
Yeah, she's playing Dreamer, but even expanding the search so that somebody like Nicole Maines can come in, does that show does that signal the kind of attentiveness needed to cast that indicates that there'll be a good casting process in place for Batwoman? Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, I think it does mean that. I think it would mean it was more likely to have a good casting process in place. I mean, it's the casting's been a mixed bag. They've certainly cast some light-skinned actors in roles that should have gone to darker-skinned people, but they also have diversified casts in different ways. I think they'll probably do a good job of it. The one I'm really wondering how they're going to deal with is going to be for the Dick Grayson movie. To be honest, that's the one that I think is really going to probably get whiffed, as it were. But yeah, I'm trying to think. Was there any other big DC news? I guess did you guys probably got to see more Aquaman stuff, right? What did you think of it?
I haven't talked to my colleague about it, but I thought it needed to generate momentum. I thought it did that. I thought the visual right now from James Wan looks encouraging. It's not afraid of showing the vastness of the ocean, or showing just how far Atlantis really can stretch. The battle scenes they're gonna be fun. And I think a lot of it is just going to get by on Momoa himself.
Yeah.
I mentioned in my article, he's kind of the affable big man on campus when Con rolls around. He's just this big dude who likes Guinness and gets along with everybody.
Yeah, yeah. And he's done like a little bit of fringe political stuff that gives me hope that there might be some opportunity for him to use his place as Aquaman in some way to help support oceans. Like he made everybody do videos in support of, in opposition to the pipeline in South Dakota. Like he cut a video and then he went to all the other Justice League actors and was like, okay, you're going to make a video now too. So that's a good sign. But he's not someone who I've heard tons of political stuff from or anything, but it would be super cool if he was going to pivot that position to sort of be an ocean champion. We'll see.
But I think what's funny is with DC movies, the baseline, people aren't even expecting another Wonder Woman. I don't think people are just like, I just hope it's not another Justice League.
Yeah, yeah.
So I think everybody wants Aquaman to be good, in large part so that they can continue seeing Jason Momoa.
Yes, we do like to see him. It's true. What did Marvel do? What kind of announcements did Marvel make?
I didn't get to go to the comic stuff, unfortunately. That's great casualties of this assignment, unfortunately. And I didn't spy any cinematic. Wow. Iron Fist season 2 was announced. Yeah. So
why are they doing that again?
I don't know. I don't know how I feel about litigating that question right now because I ran into Finn Jones at a party and he wasn't a jerk to me. So
okay.
I just said hello, wished him good luck. I just said hello, wished him good luck, and made my way out of there.
Well, I mean, I fully believe he's not a sociopath, so
Maybe the biggest one was Venom because of the Spider-Man association. So it's not a Marvel product directly, but it has a connection now. We got our first full body look at Venom himself, or themselves, I should say. And they look sufficiently scary. There's no indication yet of whether they'll acknowledge Spider-Man in that film. Of course, Hardy's up for it. He's down for whatever.
That's just so weird to me. Making a Venom movie without Spider-Man existing is just a very is that just a Jekyll and Hyde story then? I don't know.
I think that's a good way of characterizing it. Hardy's Eddie is pretty shady inherently, so that's that character trait is carried over. For our fans who read Secret Wars, the original, that provides a better job explaining why Venom takes the form they do because they were based on Peter Parker's,
Yeah.
Spider-Man. Here seems to kind of glom on to Eddie, and just start talking to him. So, if they're not careful, it could look like Little Shop of Horrors.
Yeah, I've seen some disturbing screen caps.
But I mean, it looks promising. It was a little disturbing to hear Hall H chant "We are Venom." I mean, like, not exactly a role model, kids.
Wow. So I mean, that was probably
Yeah.
encouraged by the studio, right?
Yes.
Yeah, that seems off. Like, it's totally fine to do a Venom movie, but like, even if I think it's artistically suspect, it's morally reasonable, whatever. But like, yeah, like I hear you there. Like, making people be like, "We are Venom" is like,
And they gave away these little. They're like SARS masks, but they have the Venom mouth on them, so people would put them on, and they look like their teeth are sticking out or whatever. One funny little slip up. Tom Hardy gets on and he says, I wanted to play a superhero role that my kids could watch. Which, okay, this movie.
this is not that.
But then one of the taglines of the trailer. One of the taglines in the trailer is something like "There are no superheroes," which that's slightly more accurate.
Interesting.
But yeah. But anti-hero properties as a whole just kind of seem weird in this day and age. There was also the Into the SpiderVerse animated panel.
Oh.
I mean, the movie itself looks like it's going to be fun. It's an older Peter Parker. Miles Morales encounters him, and then the two of them encounter Spider-Gwen.
And this is going to be released in movie theaters, right? This is like
yeah.
I'm so fucking smart, and I'm so glad it's happening. I want more big budget. There should be big budget animated movies of superheroes for an all ages audience. Like, good God. So, yeah.
Well, I mean, yeah. Again, speaking of people not taking lessons, what did they say about it? Is that the pre-Nolan Mask of the Phantasm was in the conversation for best Batman movie ever, without any sense of irony.
Oh yeah, I loved Mask.
And heck, I think it's probably still top 3 to me.
It's been a long time, but I have such vivid memories of watching it on my grandma's tiny, tiny TV in Florida, trying to get my hair to dry because it's too damn humid for human life down there. Wow. Yeah, that movie was really wonderful and beautiful animation. Speaking of animation, here's just a very exciting piece of news was that Voltron, the new animated Voltron show, says that they're going to have one of the lead characters' boyfriend, I guess, or I don't know if it's a current boyfriend or ex-boyfriend, is going to be a character in the upcoming season. And it's like one of the main character guys. So having I guess gay, but maybe bi, I don't know, male character who's like the leader of Voltron, in an all ages, I mean, skewing older children, not like a young kids show, but like an older kids and teens show. That's great. That's great news. I'm really impressed. And, I know it's made by the folks who made Avatar, Legend of Korra, and Last Airbender. And when I first saw that series when it came back, I found it disappointing because it didn't seem to have the same level of emotional intelligence that the original series did. And it also seemed like it was a step backwards in terms of racial diversity. Like, I didn't see anybody who looked black, for example. Like, there just wasn't, you know what I mean? But if the show is going to, if the show is going to actually have like a gay male couple, Jesus, that would be wonderful, wonderful. So I don't know. Like, did you follow much of that news?
That was one that I caught up later because it came out when I was running around from assignment to assignment, often literally. But I'm also pleased by that. I think as a sci-fi fan, to me, it's a nice follow-up to Bill on Doctor Who being shown dating women or worrying about dating women, and talking about her sexuality in a way that wasn't exploitative. And then she got the girl at the end. So I think and Doctor Who is a show that's skewed younger than Voltron, probably.
Really?
So
I didn't know that.
Oh, I think I would.
Well, I mean, I guess Doctor Who is the national
the
religion of England, right? Like, Doctor Who is the national religion of England, and therefore, clearly some small children watch it because that's what they do instead of going to church, I guess.
Yeah, brief scene from the Doctor Who panel. I think she was 9 or 10-year-old girl got up during the Q&A, and she says, my name's such and such, and I've been waiting for a girl doctor for a long time.
Aww.
And there were little girls cosplaying 13 going up to Jodie Whittaker on the floor. And the thing about Whittaker that I think is going to be her strength as we go on. I'm not going to question her passion. She's played Antigone, on the stage. But her joy in being in this position is palpable. So she really wants to do this, and I think she really wants to be for this moment. So I'm tremendously optimistic going into her first season. That's
great. And this is definitely also all coming on the heels of 2 female characters on Steven Universe getting married in a very young people friendly show, and like this episode that I swear is like therapy for everyone. It's so like there's a song in the new episode. There's a song on the episode that's about it's definitely something that was written after the election. It's a song about how to have a happy moment and celebrate love in the face of horror that's happening around you. And I just want to play that song for everybody I work with in social justice movement work, So yeah, we're getting ourselves some queer representation in children's cartoons. That's fabulous. Fabulous. So what else did you uncover that you want to tell our folks about?
Let's see. Speaking of Tig Notaro on Discovery, she was also heavily featured.
Wait, what did Tig Notaro do?
She's on Discovery, the new Star Trek.
Oh, she's on the new Star Trek. Tig Notaro in space.
Yes, she will be the chief engineer. So Scotty will not be the only smart-ass engineer in canon now.
Oh wait, in the movie or in the TV show?
No, in the Discovery, the TV show.
Oh, in the TV show. Okay, that's what I thought. Okay. Well, that's exciting. That's definitely going to keep its place in my heart, regardless of anything else then. So that's interesting casting news. Let's see.
Probably the takeaway moment for me came during, of all things, the Halloween panel, like for the reboot for the new film.
Yes.
Which just to catch everybody up, this new film with Jamie is a direct sequel to the original. In other words, discard everything else that's come before. Which, if you're a Godzilla fan, you know how to do that already, because there are so many timelines in that film series. But anyway, we can talk about that trailer later if you want too. But anyway, Jamie Lee gets on Hall H, a 6,000-person arena, and just instantly owns the place. And she's talking about Laurie Strode, her character, living with and dealing with, and decided to finally conquer her trauma and her PTSD. And she's very forcefully telling this crowd that these are legitimate issues, that you have, mental health is a legitimate issue. And that's kind of talk you don't hear a lot of on that platform. And the Q&A begins, and a gentleman says, he reveals that he was the victim of a home invasion, a person in his house carrying a knife, trying to hurt him. To survive, he followed the example, he followed the actions that Laurie Strode took in the original Halloween, and that enabled him to get out of the house and save his own life. And he literally tells Jamie Lee Curtis, "You're the only reason I came to Comic-Con." And then Nicole Brown, who was moderating the panel, motions him toward the stage, and the cameras follow him, thank goodness. And Jamie Lee Curtis meets him just off stage, and they have this nice embrace, and she says something to him I couldn't tell you, but it was obviously a deep conversation at that moment. And that was one that you don't, how can you prepare for that as a con goer?
Right.
But again, I think everyone who was there felt fortunate to be there. And I was getting ready to the panel ended. I was getting ready to wrap up and leave, and I overhear these people behind me, and one asks, "When are we getting a Women Who Kick Ass panel with Jamie Lee Curtis?" And her companion says, "We just did."
Yeah. Oh wow. Wow.
So that and the Doctor Who. That and seeing Joey Whittaker in both her panel and the Her Universe fashion show, connecting instantly with the fan base, and possibly even re-energizing, I think, the Who fan base. There's a certain contingent that is kind of looking forward to come back to the show now that Stephen Moffat is gone.
Yeah, I know a lot of folks feel that way.
So,
well, that's exciting. I do want to take a little bit of time also just to talk about your perspective on Comic-Con as someone who lives in San Diego. The con has been going on for a long time, but it didn't really become like the industry of the city so much until more recently, really. Like, how has it transformed San Diego?
Just to set the stage, I've lived in San Diego since 1988. I started attending the convention sometime in the mid-90s. And at that time, what would happen was you would go to the building, you would line up for maybe an hour, and you would get ushered up, and you'd buy your ticket, and you would walk the floor, and you would go to a panel at your whim. Maybe sneak in, see a 24-hour anime screening. You go check out the Masquerade. But you could do these things easily. You could come and go as you pleased within 10 minutes. Sometime in the 2010s, it became a lead generator for Hollywood, and they would bring their properties here and start selling them. As of 2014, the most recent reported year, and this is from the San Diego Union-Tribune, the convention generated $19,800,838 in total revenues. In terms of estimated economic impact, $140 million. Attendee spending, $82,800,000. So as an economic engine, this thing has been on the go, on the rise for at least a decade. I want to say at least a decade now. Mm-hmm. And it envelops most of downtown San Diego, almost literally, because it's not just the convention now. There's pop-ups and what they call activations all over the neighborhood. The panels are formed out to nearby hotels now, a la Dragon Con. There's the zombie walk. There's been events that happen specifically on this weekend to kind of try and drive traffic to their own. There's ChicanoCon in Barrio Logan, about 5 minutes away, which explicitly spotlights Latinx and Chicano artists and creators.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so it's taken on a lot of dimensions. And unfortunately, as someone who lives here, I do enjoy it. As a fan, I really worry sometimes about what fans are willing to do to catch one of these panels. They literally sleep outside the building, and the con is nice enough to set up tents for them now. There's these big canopies that people hide out under. But you walk in front of the building on during the convention at night, and there's people queued up for the first panel. As a fan, I question that. But that's just because I love Doctor Who, but I like my home,
Yeah. And this is also happening while the city is experiencing a resurgence of homelessness, of like actual homelessness, as opposed to like I have to wake up ungodly early to attend a panel.
Right. And you can see as they get ushered out, the homeless population which congregates downtown, you see less of them there. But at the Central Library, which is less than a mile from the convention center, tents on the street there. So you can't help but notice the contrast between the somewhat gilded age the convention represents with a very real public health and human rights crisis.
Yeah.
And this city just went through a hepatitis issue.
Hep A or Hep C?
That affected the homeless population. Hep A.
So that's foodborne illness, basically, right?
See.
I think Hep A is food. I think that's like what you get the vaccine for before you travel to certain places.
Okay.
And then Hep C is the one that you get from sex or needles, basically. But that's interesting. I hadn't heard about that. Like, do you think that there's been any attempt by the companies that are coming to town to try to like give back to the San Diego community beyond just the people who are immediately, like working for the local hotels and stuff like that?
There certainly hasn't been a wide-scale initiative. But like I don't see DC taking people out to eat, or providing goodie bags for our local homeless. No. Yeah. It's possible that the attitude is let's just go do our thing and then get out, and the city takes their money and use it for whatever they choose.
I knew you guys had like a super batshit mayor a while back, if I'm not mistaken.
Could you be more specific?
Oh, so you have a super batshit mayor right now as well, or?
No, we have a quiet center-right conservative mayor at this point. So he's not like Governor Paul LePage, or he's not like Rep. Peter King, where he's just going to say something goofy or outright offensive. But is there a citywide push for more progressive initiatives? Not from the mayor's office, no.
Yeah.
In fact, the old Central Library, a two-story building in the midst of downtown, which some leaders have tried to push to be converted into a shelter, still sits unused.
Good
Who knows
God.
why?
Yeah, when you think about it's great that there is an arts and culture driven convention that brings money to a city that primarily is industry, correct me if I'm wrong, before that primarily the money was from the Navy or from like the zoo, basically, right? Like those were the some, right? Like the naval and that, so it's good that there's a diversified way to bring in money, but there has to be ways to make sure that the whole community is benefiting from it and not just the people at the top. And then the other piece of it is I think that fans have the ability to lobby the city in different ways. I don't know if there's any particularly odious local measures coming up at the city level, but like thinking about the opportunity the conference has to call attention to folks who maybe are in town, for it, who might not know about these other local issues, and to get them to donate, sign a petition, do something else, mobilizing it, to support the community that lives there. We saw this video that was made, I think it was by a local TV station, really looking at the affordable housing crisis in San Diego and how much rent has gone up. And certainly, when you think about people like renting out their houses to people who are coming in from out of town for Comic-Con, that can also have that has the potential to do some displacement, but it also has the potential to help people afford to continue paying their rent, right? That can really go both ways. So I don't know if you had any thoughts about the housing affordability in San Diego, and what you think the conference attendees or the companies that participate in it might be able to say or do to impact it.
Now that you bring this up, I don't believe I've seen local groups I haven't seen any local group establish a connection with the con or with people coming in with regards to that issue. It's possible that they everyone thinks it's kind of outside that sphere. Because I think people still think of it as a a pop culture only thing, But if you've been there for enough years, you've seen that there are other discussions taking place.
Yeah.
I suppose it would take a local contingent linking up with an activist who could be coming down here for the con, hint, hint, and maybe forging a coalition that way.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, from the donations front, I was really happy to see that the folks who do the Cal Exit comic, their fundraiser that they were selling issues and doing like a fundraising effort at at SDCC, the money going to a group that was doing like direct relief at the border, and like right near San Diego, and that made me really happy because I'm always talking about how it seems like only the big national organizations that everybody already knows the name of seem to get love from folks in popular culture spaces, even though a lot of what we could be doing is raising the profile of other worthy organizations that folks haven't even heard about yet. So it made me super happy to see the Cal Exit folks in Black Mask supporting a group that I'd never heard before that looked like they were doing really frontline work with refugees. So that was
right,
cool.
and they are more. I spoke to the Cal Exit team a few months back for a story, and you're right, they are out there. They are doing the frontline work. Is Marvel going to do that when Jeff Loeb is running around dressed like the kid for the Iron Fist panel?
I forgot to mention that. Talk to me about that. Yes, Jeff Loeb showed up at the Iron Fist panel wearing was it fake martial arts clothing? What was it?
I mean, there was a Daniel LaRusso cosplay.
Who?
The Karate Kid, Ralph Macchio.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
I mean, it's just more specifically offensive,
Yeah.
And then he reportedly made a remark at the Cloak and Dagger panel to the effect of there are only two genders of people, Cloak fans and Dagger fans. And then he misgendered a young woman who was asking, who got up for the Q&A.
Oh no.
So I don't know what's gotten into Jeff Loeb. Are we surprised that the company that promoted Akira Yoshida let this happen? Probably not.
Oh man. That's just really, really sucky. It's like, this is what happens when people don't have conversations with people who aren't like them, who are in the position where they can comfortably tell them what's what, right? Like, how much do you want to bet that any trans person that Jeff has ever had a conversation with was someone who was trying to get work in the industry and wasn't in the position to be so Jeff, this is fucked up. Don't say this. That's entirely probable looking at his age and heterosexuality. And yeah, I'm sure he didn't wake up in the morning being oh, I want to go be offensive, but guess what, motherfucker, you were offensive, and you need to start having conversations with people.
Well, I mean, regarding Iron Fist in particular, that shows a misreading of the feedback to that show. Either a misreading or an outright lack of care.
Yeah, it's true. It's hard to say which it is because we do know that the show knew people were upset. Like there was all kinds of visible reactions from the show indicating that they'd heard people's complaints. So for Loeb,
and if you saw Luke Cage this season, that was a very visibly rehabbed Danny Rand we saw.
Oh, I didn't know he appeared this season.
Oh, yeah. Spoiler, but yes, he shows up for an episode.
No problem.
And he's chill. He's just kind of happy to be hanging with Luke again. He's much more willing to listen to people. And I watched it, I was like, yeah, that's the guy I wanted from the start.
Yeah.
So somebody listened, just not Jeff Loeb.
Wow. Were there any other big flubs or fuck-ups on the parts of people from the industry at the con that you saw?
I do have to note this. There were a couple flubs in the SpiderVerse panel. Shamik Moore, who's voicing Miles Morales, referred to him as Black and Mexican, which he's Black and Puerto Rican. Haley Steinfeld, who's voicing Gwen Stacy / Spider-Gwen, called her the first Spider-Woman, which, if you're a Jessica Drew fan, that's probably not what you want to hear.
Yeah, but I mean, and I'm a big Jessica Drew fan, but I also am like, yeah, whatever, you're a kid, you don't know, and she doesn't exist in the TV world that she's seen. She was only in that cartoon no one watched back in the day. I'm not going to hold her on that.
I mean, that's kind of a weird... That to me is a weird talking point, Like if you didn't make that claim at all, because this movie in particular deals with the multiverse, then you leave open the possibility that hey, maybe we will see Jessica Drew pop up or Araña. Remember Araña?
Right.
She was like,
yeah, I do.
Or Silk, or Julia Carpenter, who never got a fair shake in the role. It's I don't promoting Gwen Stacy and Spider-Gwen means having to denigrate the other Spider-Women who have come before, and I don't think that was her intention.
No, she just figured it in like the comics, She didn't read the FAQ.
Or she wasn't, or creative didn't go to her and feel that as part of the backstory, and that's a second thing. Like, Gwen's not the first Spider-Woman, but she's the only one she knows about. Dune, you're done.
Got it.
But it's a flub. It's something that you hear that and like, oh. But the movie itself looks good. And I'm calling it right now. John Mulaney as Peter Porker Spider-Ham is going to steal that so hard.
Oh man, I bet that's great.
He's going to be the new Rocket. Watch.
Oh man, that's cool. Well, we're coming up on the hour. Do you have any other thoughts about what folks who might want to go to San Diego Comic-Con in the future should think about in terms of ways to support the existing community and also survival tips that you might have for us?
Save your money. Like it's a seriously expensive time. Make sure to allot time for what you want to do because you're going to be waiting everywhere for everything. And look into events going on around the neighborhood, like ChicanoCon. That's it. It celebrated its 4th year this year. It's probably going to be there for the long haul. Take a trip out there and check that out. A local brewer, art shows. I think Lalo Caras did a thing there this year. Expand your search around the city and see what else is going on.
Yeah. Well, thank you for joining us, Arturo, and hopefully we can have you back in the near future again. Do you want to let our listeners know the best place to follow your work online?
You can find me at Snopes.com. The article with Dave Moss is now live at rollingstone.com. Twitter, you can find me, a boy named Art, like a boy named Sue, just Art at the end.
Indeed. And we can also find you at DragonCon. You're on a panel there coming up, yeah?
Yes, talking about fake news and misinformation and conspiracy theories. Should be fun.
Like from the debunking standpoint, not from the like, woohoo, this is cool standpoint.
Yes, yes.
Yes. Excellent.
BYO tinfoil.
BYO tinfoil. Thank you. I wish I could go to see that. I will be at Netroots Nation, my conference that I work for, in the beginning of August. So, well, thanks again, Arturo. We'll have you back on the show soon.
Sounds good.
So, to our listeners, you probably gathered, I'm not going to be around next week, so we're not going to have an episode next week. Going to be in New Orleans for Netroots Nation, but I have some exciting news for you. The Venture Brothers show is coming back, I think August 4th on Cartoon Network, which means that very soon after you will get to hear myself and Stephen Attewell back doing the Venture Brothers podcast. That is the podcast in which we will break down episode by episode, looking at all the pop culture and historical references that are woven into the very pop culture history reference-laden series. We got huge feedback from folks about it last year, how much you guys liked the show. Stephen, being a historian and a lifelong New Yorker, and myself combining our powers together to give you the most complete analysis of the Venture Brothers show that you'll find anywhere from what I can see. I'm pretty sure that Jackson Public and Doc Hammer and I, especially Doc Hammer and I, like literally consumed exactly the same pop cultural media most of our lives, and therefore I'm particularly well equipped at helping guide you through this journey. Venture Brothers podcast will be back in early August, so definitely join us for that. And in the meantime, you can find me on Twitter, ELANA_Brooklyn, Ilana_Brooklyn on Twitter all the damn time. Graphic Policy is our website. You can always get our episodes on iTunes, SoundCloud, Stitcher, and actually we also end up on YouTube eventually if you prefer to get it that way, though there's no cool video to watch. Graphic Policy has our own San Diego Comic-Con coverage you can also check out and read over there. And until next time, keep it geeky.
Hey, thanks for watching the previous video from Graphic Policy Television. Just by watching, you help support our site. Thank you so much. Now, if you're watching these videos, you probably care about geeky things like movies, television, comic books, toys, games, video games, you name it. You can go and subscribe right now to our YouTube channel to stay in touch and catch all the new videos, or check out our website at graphicpolicy.com. There's a nice link on this end of the video. But as always, thank you for watching. Keep on rocking and keep it geeky.